Alrighty. Hi, my name's Samantha Davis. I'm a journalist for The Venture at EGMN at University of Houston, and I'm here today speaking to three different UH students about disability on campus and their lifestyles. So if y'all could just tell me your name and classification, starting with Kim, how about?
Okay. Hey guys, my name is Kimberly Ivory. I go by Kim. I am a senior at U of H, and my major is biology. Um, I have a spinal cord injury, and my level is a C7 level injury, meaning it's on the cervical, seventh part of the cervical on my spine. If that makes sense. I'm classified as a quadriplegic, meaning I'm paralyzed in all four of my limbs. And I was injured in 2009 due to a car accident. Um, and it's been, yeah, about almost 5 years.
Wow. Glad to
So,
have you here.
so what about you, Sergio? I kind of know you from rugby, so we kind of
Yeah,
acquainted. So what about you? What's your story?
my name is Sergio Beretta. I'm a junior at UH for political science with a minor in creative work. My disability is dystonia, which is a hereditary disease that I contracted through birth from my mom. It is similar to what uh, people would say is similar to cerebral palsy. So yeah,
Okay. Okay.
Oh,
and then I had a secondary disability as well, and that affected my spine, transverse myelitis.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
okay. Well, I'm Muhammad Khan. I am a junior, and I haven't attended U of H as yet, but hopefully I'm looking forward to taking classes there. Uh, my disability is that I am a bilateral above knee amputee. That means both my legs have been amputated above the knees, and this was a result from a trauma in 2006. So I just had my 8-year second birthday. Uh, Besides that, post-traumatic complications necessitated the removal of muscles from my forearms. So I almost had my hands amputated, but the doctors at the last minute decided not to do that. So I do have my hands and my arms, but I don't have full finger dexterity. So the easiest way to describe it would be quad hands, to borrow on Kim's disability. But besides that, I did suffer a closed head injury. So there was a blood vessel in my brain that was leaking during post-trauma times, and I suffered some injury to the lowest part of my spine, but so that's kind of affected my lower torso. Uh, but otherwise, I have most of my abilities. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm just gonna add in my story here too. Since I'm also a new student at U of H, I'm gonna be a grad student next month, and I'm disabled as well. I was in a wheelchair for several years and transitioned out after surgery in 2011. I have a nerve condition called reflex sympathetic dystrophy, or RSD, and I guess the best way I could describe it is kind of a miscommunication in the brain. Say, for example, people coming home from war, like World War II, Guy A would come home and have the exact same injury as Guy B. They would both heal, but Guy A would still feel the pain as if it had never healed. And that's kind of what it's like. And that's my right foot. And so for a long time, I had a lot of issues walking, and it would swell up, and I couldn't wear shoes. And it was very, very frustrating because the campus I was on for undergrad was extremely hilly, and they didn't have very good parking, and they had signs in the middle of the wheelchair ramps, so your wheelchair couldn't get up the ramp, which was
Know that feeling.
I know, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
That was definitely a life-changing experience, I think. Finally transitioning out was amazing. Honestly, I never thought that would happen. So many doctors told me that it wouldn't happen, and it did, which I'm very grateful for, but it still does affect my life. I'm still in pain 99% of the time, but it's a lot better than it was. So.
Are you still in therapy?
Well, I have this device in my back, actually. That was what the surgery was in 2011. A neurostimulator. I don't know if you've ever heard of those. But basically, it's this little battery, and it has these wires coming out that are hooked up to my spine. And it communicates with my brain, and it blocks the pain waves that are coming from my foot. So it helps me to manage the pain a lot better than I would without it. So
I actually had a similar case. I had what's called a deep brain stimulator, and what it was, I had two packs in my body that both packs went to my brain and send electrical signals to the brain, and that was to help with my movement a little better. But it turned out to be that it did not work for me. So.
Yeah, everybody's kind of different. So I have friends with the same thing, and some of them got nothing out of the neurostimulator, and some of them went in remission for years because of it. It really depends on the person.
Right. So it just helps you manage the pain. It doesn't help you with walking. It's not like stem cell or anything.
No, it doesn't cure it. It only manages it.
Right.
So,
Got it.
you know, that's better than nothing.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, most definitely. Wow, I might have to look into that because I often have a lot of back pain.
Mm-hmm.
That happened, from the beginning of my injury. And I still have it to this day. I have like really bad like back pain, and I don't know if it's because I'm in my wheelchair most of the time, but yeah, it's like really bad. So maybe I'll look into that.
Yeah, that might be good because actually the reason I heard about it was my mother's best friend, her husband, got this, and he had it for back pain. And it helped him amazingly. So, yeah, that's a good option.
I've heard one option was acupuncture, but
yeah, I've heard that too. I've always been too much of a wuss.
That too, and then I've heard of like bad cases, that happen with acupuncture. They puncture. I don't know, a blood vessel or, somewhere in the spine, something happens and somebody becomes paralyzed, and so,
yeah,
it can be really bad. So I don't know. You just have to keep researching. But
yeah.
but,
okay, so just in general, what are y'all's biggest challenges you think as a disabled student, not just on campus, like in the city itself?
I think one of the biggest challenges as far as being disabled goes is just getting people to really just see you. You know what I mean? Because oftentimes you become invisible. You know what I mean? When you have a disability. I mean, we're not even talking about like the physical challenges, moving around, and but really just being accepted and being noticed. I think that becomes a huge issue. I know I deal with that sometimes, like being overlooked or not being considered for things just because I'm in a wheelchair. Just because I'm in a chair doesn't mean I can't think, or speak or say things, but I feel that a lot, not just at U of H, but just in general, just every day in my life. It's very frustrating and irritating, but that's probably one of the biggest frustrations I feel like I have with my disability.
Mhm.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Now, I was saying from what Kim said that we become invisible, but the chairs stand out. The chair. Everybody notices the chair, not the person sitting in the chair.
Mhm. Yeah,
Uh,
there were numerous times where like I'd get referred to in class as the girl in the chair.
Mm.
right?
Gotta have a name.
I know, like I'm a person,
Yeah.
But weren't they all sitting in chairs in the
Wow.
in the classroom? But all right. But anyway, so what do you think, Sergio?
No, I was saying that that we have been labeled as the invisible generation. We have not been able to. Yeah, we got the ADA Act passed in the 90s, but that's it. We still face limitations, whether it's transportation issues or whether it's simple as getting medical coverage for equipment you need, you know?
Mhm.
And that's, to me, that's a bigger issue itself
Yeah,
than,
Yeah, definitely.
I think a lot of people don't realize how hard it can be because, I mean, not even just this issue, but plenty of other things. People will say, oh, well, there's organizations for that. There's scholarships for that. And I'm sorry, that doesn't fix everything. I mean, I was telling you about that campus that I was on for undergrad. They were ADA compliant.
Hmm.
I was in a second-story dorm with no ramps and elevators.
Wow.
I mean,
Wow.
what was I supposed to do? I mean, it really wasn't enough. It was still really hard. I mean, so what do y'all think could be added or needs to really be considered? Because obviously ADA compliance is not enough.
Not at all. I think
yeah, it isn't.
sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Sergio, my bad. Go ahead.
It's, the ADA compliance isn't enough, and I think we're moving towards a government that realizes that and is trying to find a way to reform it.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, it may take another decade to reform
Right,
because nobody really steps up and say what needs to be done.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree. I feel like, yeah, there's been changes made, but we're still not where we need to be. And I feel like a lot of times when they design those ramps, they should actually have somebody who uses those ramps like on hand and available there,
Yeah,
telling
like
you, oh, okay, this ramp may be too steep, or giving their input as they design it. You know what I mean? Because
right.
I've come across so many ramps that are way too high, and I'm just like, who designed this? Like, what are they thinking about? They think, oh, it's a ramp. It's a ramp so they can use it. They think they're all equal, and it's totally not true.
Yeah.
And I've come across doors on campus that don't have buttons, you know what I mean, to open, and I have to figure out how to do it. I don't want to sit there, and I've had to sit there plenty of times and wait for people to pass by, to open a door for me. I manage how I can, but sometimes the door is just too heavy, But I mean, they're trying to make some changes. I see U of H trying, but it's just not, enough.
Right.
Absolutely. And just because, like you said, with the ramps, sometimes the ramps are there, but they're not usable by people in wheelchairs. Similarly, buildings have elevators, but I cannot tell you how many times elevators are broken down, or I get inside the elevator and I get stuck. So compliance is something that should be ongoing. That no, constantly these things should be picked up. There have been times when I got to the bus stop and after waiting for a while, the bus that comes in, the ramp for the bus is not working. And this is something that should be checked before the bus leaves the depot in the morning for its first trip. That no, it should be completely operational. If it's not, then that bus has no business being on the street. So yeah, things get installed but are not always operational, unfortunately. That's one qualm.
Yeah. I think definitely that's something they need to think about, because despite what people may think, oh, they're a minority, there's a small chance that they'll be on the bus. I mean, no, that needs to be taken care of.
At all places. At all places. And constantly looked at, and checked on and made sure, that it's not broken down, because I've come across so many times. I make so many mental notes, and I say all the time, I'm going to bring this to someone's attention, and I just forget about it. I'm like, somebody will fix it, But I really do need to start speaking up more about it. I do. I need to make that more.
We all do, really.
Yeah, we all should. We all should.
We are one. Basically, we are, like we said, the invisible generation.
Yes. But all right.
I'll tell you one place that really has a good idea of what they need to be doing is Disney World. I went there with my niece. She's 3.5, and we took her for the first time. And of course, she was about to fall out of her skin. She was so excited. And we were going to take the buses over to Epcot and all those other places in the mornings, and it was so smooth. And they would make everyone else wait. Like, I would get on the bus first, and they would fix things for me, and it took like all of 2 minutes. They had everything together, and everyone was so nice, and I didn't have any issues.
Yeah, that's the best feeling. Yeah.
Getting on rides and stuff, they had a special area for people with scooters to go, so you wouldn't have to walk very far after you get off, and I had no problems. It was absolutely fantastic. They went above and beyond to make sure I wasn't in pain.
Yeah.
So
That's the difference in public versus private sector, I guess. Private sector, they're trying to draw more people, more crowds to come there, because every person who passes through the gates is buying a, Samantha, help me out here, $100 ticket per day, versus that's not the same situation on campuses, right? But at the same time, we keep saying they need to change this, they need to change this. Everybody echoed this a few minutes ago, that no, we are the ones who need to be speaking out, and speak out in the best fashion that will bring about change in things around us.
Right. Right, and be adamant too about it, and make sure you follow up with it. Don't just say it one time and expect it to change. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I'm not just saying it to you guys. I'm saying it to me. Because there have been so many cases where a button doesn't work, and then I'll leave the building and be like, oh, they'll fix it. And I don't even think twice about it, and I come across the same problem again like a week later. And I kick myself. Because I should have done something or said something about it.
Hold on. Kim, I thought you were paralyzed below your neck. How do you kick yourself? What's up with that?
I knew somebody was going to catch that.
No. But yeah. And the other thing is that as our conditions, we still are mobile, but there are other students on campus, there are other people who are using these facilities who are in, for lack of a better phrase, worse conditions than we are physically. And
that's so
sometimes they don't have the mental capacities to go up and address these problems with the correct people. So if we can, we notice something, I think it is our responsibility to make the time to address these as best as we can. So
not just for us, but for those people as well, without a voice. Like, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. That is so true.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of people, too, they don't realize what resources are available to them. Because, I mean, when I got to UH, I really was not expecting that much. And then I went to CSD, and I was like, wow, this is so much better than undergrad. They have so much. So that was a nice surprise, and they have a lot of things there that can really help. And I think that was a really good surprise, you know.
Absolutely. Now, coming back to the question that you put on us, Samantha, that what are the biggest challenges as a disabled student, and you just mentioned CSD. My campuses, because of my difficulties with my hand, I get time and a half to take exams. The only way this time and a half can be administered is the instructor sends the exam to the Office of Disability Services, or CSD as it's called at UH, and they have their own testing facilities or their own testing room where students are sat down and monitored or proctored, and they give us the time and a half. But one problem I faced with this setup was if I have any doubts about the exam I'm taking, if I have a question, if I need a clarification, there's nothing I can do.
Right, right. Yeah, that's a good point.
You are so, oh my gosh, Mom, I'm glad you brought that up. I face that all the time when I have to take my tests in the student and the Center for Disabilities, and I have a question, and there's nobody there. It's so frustrating. And then you end up, you know, God forbid, you end up missing that question, you know, and you can't explain it, you know, sometimes, or you just forget sometimes even the question, you know, because they grade it, you know, a week later. You know, you've kind of already forgotten, but oh my goodness, yes. And I mentioned that to my teachers, and they're just like, oh, just star it, and we can talk about it. But it's so, you know, frustrating. Or even if they make a mistake on the test and they announce it to the class, but you're not going to get that instruction, you know. And so you're sitting there, you're like, is that supposed to be there? But you don't know. He didn't explain it to you. So, oh my goodness, I battle that all the time, and people just see me like, oh, you get an extra hour and a half, man, you're lucky, or you get an extra hour, you get more time, it's not fair. I'm like, are you serious, dude? Like, look at my hands, look, you know, how long it takes me to write, you know, it's not even a mental thing, honestly, like.
Yeah. Some instructors do understand the situation, and they will create a time that they can administer the exam for me myself. So whenever that option is available, I do choose that. But sometimes it's not, and we start going to the center.
Luckily, the university professors have been awesome with that. They have, because I know I have talked to some professors, and they do allow that. And if you come to them first and speak what you need, most of the time they will provide accommodation that you need.
Yeah. Reasonable being under quotations there. Reasonable accommodations.
Oh, yeah. I have some professors that don't even like to deal with CSD at all. They prefer me to just take it in their office, which is a little intimidating, you know. Or I have professors that are like, I'll just grade yours myself. Everybody else is being graded by the TA, but I'll grade yours myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, scary. That's not a challenge. That's just a pet peeve. But no, it's a lot of things going on. But CSD definitely, you know, makes things a little bit better. They do. But one thing I have to mention that was kind of difficult for me when I first got to U of H, because I'm a transfer student. I came from Lone Star, and when I was at Lone Star, they actually provided scribes for me. They would take notes for me in class, and when I got to U of H, they didn't have that. They were like, oh, we don't do that at all. What we do is you just ask somebody in your class to borrow their notes or to make a copy of their notes. It was just like, oh, scary. You know, coming from like Lone Star with like 25 to 30 people in your class, and then U of H with like, I don't know, 50, 70, in
Wow.
your class, probably more. I've had 200 in my class before.
Yeah.
But that's kind of intimidating. But
My
that actually.
my biggest class was 535 students.
Oh!
Yeah.
Okay, that's no.
Oh, man. That is something else. Do you usually wait until everybody leaves the class to leave, or do you just get up with them? How does
I
that work?
usually wait.
Yeah.
If I can sneak on by, I'll sneak on by and leave. But that is like every once in a while.
Right. That's true. Man, I've never had a class that big, Sergio. Oh my God.
Yeah, go to the SEC 100.
Oh yeah, I've
Yeah.
had a class in there. Actually, I think my
Yeah.
class might have been 400, but it was one of those classes where he posts the lectures online. So I mean, a lot of people would just skip, so you never really saw the whole class.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that is something else. That can be really intimidating. I mean, I don't know. I've had pretty good professors. Y'all have had pretty good professors too that work with you and.
Usually.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was back at UTSA, I was a supplemental instruction leader, and it's kind of like a tutor. But
Yeah.
basically, I'd go to the class and take notes, and then I'd teach the students in the class how to study for it because I had taken the class before. And there was one semester that was a lot worse than the others, and I had been walking the first week, I think, or the second week or something like that. And then I came back on Monday and I was in a wheelchair, and he just the professor just took it in stride. He was like, nothing has changed, which was absolutely fabulous.
Well, that's awesome.
Students weren't as nice, unfortunately, but the professor was fabulous. So I haven't really had very many issues with professors as much as other peers, which is strange, I think. You'd think they're in your age group, but that's not how.
Yeah, no, that's true. I find that interesting. I don't know. I deal with that too sometimes. But what do you guys? You haven't had any challenges with professors?
As far as professors go, I think the best professors, as similar to the best peers or the best people in society, are the ones, in my opinion, who give you the accommodations you need, but don't treat you any differently than the other students. They expect the same of you as is expected of all the other students in the class. Because I don't want a pity party. I don't want a pity grade. As sometimes I may be wanting an easier time, but in truth, I don't feel as I don't feel I've worked for that grade if I get something that a classmate who's done the same amount of work has not gotten. So I think the best professors are the ones who treat us at par with the other students. Yeah, they make accommodations, but you don't even know those accommodations have been made. Everything, like you said, everything was just in stride. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So they consider your challenges, but they don't lower their expectations.
Correct. Nicely put. Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, because overall, you're still a student, and the fact that you're a disabled student really, it should not affect that. Like he said, it shouldn't be a pity grade. Like, you can still work as hard as every other student in the class. So.
Sometimes you want a little slack, but no, I'm just kidding. But no, it's nice that they still see you as the same. I had one teacher last semester actually. I got my test kind of late to the CSD because it was raining really hard and I had to cross the campus. and I got there probably like 25 minutes, maybe 30 minutes late to my test. And I took my test, but I felt really rushed, you know. And I
Mhm.
emailed her, and I was just like, I'm really sorry, you know, I was late because of the rain. Please, you know, would you let me, you know, maybe retake it or, you know, have another chance? She was just like, nope, sorry, you know, plan better next time. And I was like, oh my God. But, you know, it was a nice little, you know, lesson, I guess, that I learned.
Mhm.
And, you know, that was good, I guess, for me. So now I know, you know, if it's going to rain, you know, just to plan better, you know. But, yeah, professors, you know, for the most part have been pretty good for me, too. They work with me.
All right.
We've kind of lost Sergio. I guess he's having some
Oh, we did? Oh, gosh.
Yeah, hopefully he'll get back on. But in terms of professors and classes and things, I think one of the things that bothered me the most, like say if I had to miss class or if I was late or something like that, I felt a whole lot of guilt, and I knew I couldn't really control the situation. You know, I had to roll with it, but a lot of times I would really beat myself up over it. Um, do y'all ever experience that, or?
Sergio's back.
Okay.
Can you say it one more time for Sergio?
Yeah,
Is he back on it?
Sorry about that.
it's okay. It's totally fine. Things happen. Also, Mohammed, you are muted for some reason.
That's intentional.
Oh, okay, okay. Well,
Uh-huh.
basically what I was saying, a lot of times I have to miss class or I'm late due to chronic pain. So I have to kind of deal with that guilt. I'm the kind of person that wants to do absolutely everything, and I get really upset when I can't. And I have to tell myself over and over. You can do anything. You can't do everything. You'll overload yourself. So a lot of the times I had to deal with a lot of guilt. So I was wondering if y'all had experienced the same thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've, I've I've had problems in school because I sign up for way too many activities, and I think I can do it, and I want to do them, and then my classes start suffering, and I'm like, no, 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 and then I go into this panic phase, and then I start dropping things all around. So yeah, I know what you're talking about. That well, I think I know what you're talking about. I do feel some guilt sometimes that I signed up for more than I'm actually capable of keeping up with. Uh, so I have to keep control on myself. I heard this saying the other day that don't make promises when you're happy and don't dole out punishments when you're angry. And it hit me really close that friends would ask me to hang out or to go out and do things or join clubs, and I'd sign up, and then I'd be all excited and I'd sign up, but then later I realized that no, there's no way I can meet all these deadlines. So this time around, it has to be very focused that no, education, the classes have to be the primary concern and everything else on the side. Once I've completed this, then maybe I can take something else on the side. But hopefully with adaptive athletics, the opportunities I'm going to be having will keep me focused on campus and will keep me busy enough that I won't sign up for other things on the side then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I have to say, I used to have that guilty feeling when I would overcommit myself to things because when I first got back into school after my accident, I wanted to do everything and be in everything, be a part of everything. And so,
Know that feeling.
wait, say it again?
No, I said know that feeling.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I didn't want to be left out at all. And so, like, I was in all these clubs. I was, like, vice president. I was doing all these things. And then I realized, like, man, I'm not sleeping as much as I should be. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not focused on some of my working out that I need to do, like my standing and my certain things that I have to do. And I'm limiting that part of my life. And I was being late all the time. And, you know, I wasn't being professional. And I realized, you know, I can't do everything that I want to do, you know. I have to look at what I can do, know my limitations, you know what I mean? And so now I don't have that guilty feeling anymore. I look at things and I admire other people for being able to do everything, but I know what I can do, you know,
Right.
and I have to look at things and say, okay, that's a great idea, maybe in the future, maybe later, but, you know, I can handle what I can handle, and I'm okay with that, you know.
Yeah,
So,
and I think it takes a while to come to terms with that too, because I read this quote recently that your best may not be somebody else's best, and that's okay.
mhm,
And that took a long time for me to accept because, you know, I'd see like a single mom who's taking 5 classes and working,
right,
you know, and I'm like, well, if she can do it and not die from lack of sleep, then so can I. And then I'm like,
right.
no, not really.
2 hours of sleep. 2 hours of sleep is good. No.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things that people need that other people don't. Everyone is different, you know, and you have to kind of gauge those things and see what works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you could have said it better. That is,
I'm gonna give you guys a fist bump for that similar situation that everybody has been in.
yes. Wow. Nice. But I mean, I still have those feelings where I want to do more. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm still involved. Don't get me wrong. I didn't cut out everything, but I'm still trying to be a part of things. But you know, I always still feel like I could do more. You know what I mean? Always still like I'm like, oh, maybe I could squeeze in maybe that activity, and I'm like, Kim, come on, really? You know, because I'm adamant about being a part of something and being for sure that I can be committed. You know, keeping my word and being 100% in what I'm committing to. You know, giving my all. I don't want to half step and join something and then say, oh, but I can only do Mondays, and well, if you guys are meeting at 5, really I can't be there till 7. You know, I don't want to be that person anymore. You know what I mean? So yeah, I have to know my limits and, you know, just be okay with it, like I said.
So would you say that's like a major lesson you've learned because of being a disabled student, that you have to kind of accept those things?
Yeah, but I don't even think it's just being disabled. I think that's people in general. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people I know who are a part of like 5+ organizations, you know, and they really need to sit down somewhere. Like, but they're lacking in other parts of their life. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
maybe they don't have the best relationships, or maybe they don't have, you know, stable friendships, or because they're out all the time, you know, they don't have certain things because, you know, they're giving their all to other people, you know. They're not okay. Their health probably isn't, you know, in the best condition, you know. And so I think that's a good lesson for everybody to learn, you know. Like, look at yourself and know what you can handle, you know.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
I
definitely.
agree with Kim. Everyone has to have some sort of time management, and for us who have disability, we have to accommodate our time management skills in a way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, definitely.
But Samantha, that may be one of the more valuable lessons learned.
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely a big one for me.
Mhm.
So what are other lessons y'all have learned? I mean, that's definitely a major one for me.
Let's see what else. Students.
That's
Give yourself
really-
enough time to get to your appointments. But that's again, see, that's something that everybody has to go. It's not tied down to disability. Well, I guess just like everybody else. That's what we keep saying, right? So it's the same situation. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I battle with. I mean, I know we were talking about like knowing our limitations in certain areas as far as like joining organizations, but time management is a big problem for me, and I've always kind of been like a late person, I guess you could say, but it's gotten way worse since, you know, my disability. And I mean, if people say be there at 7, I guarantee you I'll be there maybe 7:30, maybe 8. It's so bad. And I mean, I'm still learning that lesson. It's not like I've learned it. I still am challenged by that, but I'm trying to learn that. I'm trying to still learn that one. And then I think like another thing that I've kind of learned to just kind of deal with is the staring. You know, actually, I have days where I feel like I'm gonna get over it. You know, when I'm out in public and like people will just like stare. But then there's other days where I'm just like, really, you have to look at me today. Like, you know what I mean? That's another challenge.
Sometimes I would stare back, and it would make them really uncomfortable.
Oh, you would stare back?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. They'd be like, oh.
Yeah, I say I want to do that, but I don't know if I have the guts. I always say, like, next time they do that, I'm going to do it back. But I'm just
It's really funny. It's worth it, I promise.
Oh, man.
Because they realize, they're like, oh, God, like, this makes me feel uncomfortable. Oh, so it must be making them feel uncomfortable. Oh, what I did was really rude, you know? So.
Yeah, because I can understand if someone glances, real quick. But some people will just stare. And
Yeah.
like, keep looking. I'm like, okay, like, why do you have to be so obvious? Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, for sure. I really didn't expect it as much as it did happen. You know, I was like, oh, people are nicer than that. And, like, I thought that stuff just happened in movies. And
No. But I mean, there are some nice people who will stop and be like, God bless you, or, or give you that smile, and they'll actually look at you in the eye. I appreciate those people,
Absolutely, yes.
Gosh, it makes me feel like a person again. I'm like, oh, okay, they see me, Like, have you ever dealt with that? Like, you're out in public with someone and they just talk to that person. They don't look at you.
Yeah.
I had that.
Gosh, man.
I remember going to a restaurant with a friend of mine, and we had a waiter who just talked to my friend and did not acknowledge what I wanted or needed.
There
And
goes
I was really like, wow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
People are ignorant. They just don't know. It's just. I try to give people slack when I come across people like that. I'm just like, okay, maybe the wheelchair is just unfamiliar to them. They're not complete idiots. I try to be mindful of that. Like, okay, maybe it's weird because I try to like reverse the situation. I'm like, okay, if I was them, would I stare? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I
do
think
that.
that's important to do, too, to think about it from another perspective.
Yeah, I tried. I'm like, okay, maybe I would kind of look too. Maybe it is kind of weird, but at least I'm like polite.
Yeah. And I think, too, like, the reason some people do that is because they're operating off of assumptions. You see a wheelchair, and that doesn't really define what that person's going through or what their condition is, but sometimes people jump to conclusions. And they're like, oh, that person must not operate on the same mental level as I do.
Yeah.
So maybe I should just avoid the awkward conversation, and
They're lost.
it's a silly assumption, but that people think it.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's not good. Operating off of assumptions, just in general, that's not good. But I mean, people don't know a lot of things about being disabled. If they're able-bodied their whole lives and they don't come in contact with that, there's a lot of things to understand.
Except for like grandma, in the wheelchair, That's how most people see. When you think of wheelchairs, you mostly think of like, older people in chairs. And so when they see like younger people, they're like, oh my gosh, like.
And they always say you're too young to be in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, that bothers me because it's like, well, is this only reserved for the weak?
I know, right?
Elderly? No, I mean, all sorts of different people have all sorts of different issues, and
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't like that when people just say, oh no, if you're young, that shouldn't be happening.
I know, and it's funny because like I have to be careful not to like get really passionate and annoyed with that person because it's like that may be their first time asking that question, but to you it's like your 30th time. You know what I mean? It's like that one person that you just lose it on. They're like, hey, really, they're just their first time. Building up, okay?
Yeah. I guess like Samantha was saying, everybody has their unique situations, even with disabilities. Kim, you're a C7. You know, there are other spinal cord injuries who are T5 or much lower than that. And what most people fail to recognize is that different spinal cord injuries at different levels don't come with the same issues. There are some people who cannot be out in the sun long enough because they don't sweat, right?
Yeah.
And then somebody who might not have control over their fingers and might not be able to pick something up from the floor. So just because you have seen somebody in a wheelchair does not mean you know what everybody in a wheelchair is going through. And maybe 5 years ago, if you broke a foot and used a wheelchair for a week, that does not make you an expert on what life in a wheelchair is like. And I keep talking about, right? I keep talking about physical limitations because that's what I have experienced. But the disability has also changed my own perspective to be mindful of and be more aware of what other people's disabilities are. So now Samantha mentioned RSD, so I definitely plan to look into that and find out exactly what that is. Similarly, what the difference in muscular dystrophy and cerebral palsy is. So to get a better understanding of what people around us are going through. But of course, until I got disabled myself, not to say I didn't care, but I didn't think it was necessary to know what different people's limitations were. But now facing this myself is when my horizons have expanded. So while it is annoying, but I sometimes I may lose it with people, but I try to keep that in check because not everybody is informed. And that goes for racism or sexism or any other kind of differences that people have, from their own person. So disabilities, it comes back to the same thing that no, we are like everybody else, like the 6 billion people out there. We have the same complications, but it goes off like an offshoot on its own side. That no, these are things that we deal with, but at the same time, we may not be aware of things that other people are dealing with. So compassion. I guess that should be key.
Yeah, and I think there's a difference too between hatred and just literal ignorance. I mean, some people just don't know the things to say or the questions to ask, and there's a big difference between the two.
Absolutely.
All kind of wacky questions.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I used to be like in and out of a wheelchair, and I would get out of my car and I'd have to figure out how to get the wheelchair out of the trunk by myself and figure that out. And there was one guy in his truck that was pulling by me to, I guess, pick up a friend or something. And he literally just stopped and rolled down his window and was like, if you need a wheelchair, then how come you can drive, stand, and drag it out of your trunk? And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. No, that's not even. I had to sit there and explain it to him, and it's just, that's not to happen.
I know.
But chances are that prepared you for the next encounter like that. I'm sure you'll have some witty comeback for
Yeah. I should have just said shh and slowly wheeled it.
Sometimes I really don't even feel like going into the, explanations. Sometimes I don't. And I know it's a time where you can educate someone, but, when you get it so often,
Yeah.
What happened to you? Or, I got a question. I work at a daycare with, 5 and 6, 7-year-olds, and they asked me, how do you take a bath? Do you take a bath in your chair? How do you sleep? Do you sleep in your chair? I'm just like, okay, you're a kid. So
Well, those are kids. And kids.
Standing up? I mean, goodness gracious.
all kinds of questions. I even get that from adults. I'm not gonna lie. I get that from some adults, and I'm like, okay, maybe you just don't know, and that's okay.
But it definitely gets frustrating, you know, just that repetition over and over and over and over and over again, and people are just like, "What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?" I've actually met my boyfriend's family up in Limberley about a month ago, and I wear these special shoes called Z Coils, and they're really, really good shoes that they have really good insoles, and they specially make them for your feet. And the weird thing about them is that the heel is a steel coil, so they're very strange looking, and people notice them very easily. And I get that question like every day. What are those? What are those for? Are those for fitness? Can you spell it, guys? And I'm like, no. And I went up there and I met them, and they didn't ask me the entire weekend, and it was so nice not having to explain to them why I wear them, what they are, that they are not for basketball.
Yeah.
It's
But still, at the same time, I understand what Kim is saying, that we don't always have the time to address questions. But I think we need to come up with a solution. So, hey, I can't talk to you right now. You know, shoot me a text, or here's my email. Write me. And I think it comes to us to be able to explain ourselves to others, because that's how we will create awareness. That's how we will create acceptance, and that's how we will create unity. So yes, it takes time, and like I said, sometimes you don't have the time, but maybe we can carry cards in our pocket. They're like, hey, you know, shoot me a message sometime, and I'll let you know what's actually going on. But we gotta be proactive. We gotta be proactive. If we keep being reactive, then there will be times when we lose our composure. But it's like, you know, what Sergio was saying, that maybe 10 years from now acceptance will be better and ADA compliance will be better. So we got to keep shooting for that always improvement, you know, what we can. And yes, that puts a lot of burden on our shoulders, but if not us, then who, right? You know, so. Right.
And taking advantage of every opportunity to, you know, explain and educate, you know, even if it is, you know, bother sometimes, you know, that small step in the right direction, you know, is, you know, the most beneficial.
And throw in some make some stuff up, so you know it throws people off sometimes also. People ask me what happened. Hey, I got attacked by a shark, you know.
Dude, I have gone so far. Like, I have me and a guy friend, we were like making up this ridiculous story. He was like, you got shot by an ex-boyfriend, he ran you over, you were in a coma for 4 months, you had to testify in court, you miraculously broke up.
You could write a
book. We went so far.
Wow.
And they don't know if it's true or not, so maybe we can get away with it all.
But I agree with Muhammad that we need to unite as one and be proactive and tell people what we need.
Yeah.
And someone told me that that you have to be your own advocate. That nobody else will be there to advocate what your needs are. Mm-hmm. It's all up to the individual.
Right.
And
definitely true.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, it's easy to sit and complain and say, you know, you wish things were better, you want this to change, but you have to start, you know, expressing yourself and, you know, articulating, you know, what it is you want to change, you know. So absolutely, Sergio, I agree, 100%.
So what do you think you would change right off the bat, like the first things you would want to tackle?
Or?
Huh?
You mean
at what level?
Yeah. Like, what do you mean, like, with people's, like, misconceptions or, like, the ADA compliance?
Yeah, I
Just
mean,
everything, like, what do we want?
any of those in general. I mean, not just on UH campus, in the city itself, or in the nation as a whole. You know, especially in travel, I think there are a lot of things
Thank you.
that people have issues with. So, you know, any of those, just.
Yeah, I can't think of something more than travel. But that's just what I have faced, you know. So I'm sure other people have faced other issues. Um, I've flying with wheelchairs is just a humongous gamble. It's like you don't know what condition your chair is going to be in when you come back out of the plane. There has been one time when I landed in one city and they sent my chair to a different city.
Oh, stop it.
So there definitely needs to be better training for the people who help us travel, and it's getting better, but it's that's something that needs
Still have a
immediate
ways to
attention.
go. Oh my goodness, I have never experienced that, but I also don't travel that often. I mean, the last time I was on an airplane was maybe like 3 years ago, but man, I did not experience that. What airlines did you fly with?
I'm not gonna give that out. That's okay.
Ah, man.
Because I don't think naming an airline like this is gonna make things better. I
I
think
mean, no, I'm curious. This is just out of curiosity, but you can tell me later. Oh,
yeah.
maybe.
So that is.
Sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't want to get anybody in trouble. This wasn't for me to like go call, I don't know, Delta, for example. No, no, I get it.
Because okay, this is why I don't want to name names, because you go to a different country, you go to Mexico, you go to India, you go to Palestine, and what people are going through in wheelchairs in those cities and those countries is we would not. I don't think I would survive a day out there. So I don't want to call out names and be like, no, you know what, y'all aren't doing. Y'all are not doing a good job. I keep telling them that, hey, what you have provided for me is amazing. You know, I can't imagine what life without the Americans with Disabilities Act would be like. But there's always something more you can do. You know, and approach them in a very, very, very polite fashion. That's because if you offend somebody, you might not feel the repercussions, but the next person who rolls by, you know, might get into trouble, might feel the heat of your comment. So unless even when my chair was sent to the wrong city, I was like, it's okay. What can we do to improve the situation? What can we do to help me out, and what can we do to ensure that this doesn't happen to the next people, to the next passenger? So I don't want to name names just for that reason. That because what is available to us here is sure it's not caught up with countries like Netherlands where everything is a lot more accessible, but we are a lot better than what it could be. So,
Right.
yeah.
So Mohammed, what did they do for you when they did that to you?
They provided me with a transport chair or a hospital chair, the bulky chairs, and they let me take that chair home, and they had my chair delivered to the airport the next day, and from the airport they actually took the time to deliver it personally to my house. So I was without my chair for a day, which is big, you know, because I couldn't do a whole lot, but I was still happy to be back in my chair the next day. So not the end of the world.
Gotcha.
Oh, you handled it nicely.
They tried to rectify the situation.
It's we're working towards change. We're working towards positive change, right? So what Mahatma Gandhi said in India: be the change you want to see in the world. So
I mean, that I have to agree. Yeah, I mean, you can be positive, but it's all in how you say it. You know what I mean? Because we're talking about like making people aware and making changes and helping the future generations, you know, disabilities. You know, I think, you know, not necessarily to get people in trouble, but to just make sure that situation doesn't happen again. You know, speaking up and telling them, you know, what the issue was and how to avoid it in the future. You know, and so I'm a big believer in, you know, saying something, but it's how you say it. You know what I mean? And so you don't have to be like nasty, like, oh my God, I'm gonna get all of you guys fired for messing up my chair, or putting my chair in the wrong place. But I just think that definitely making them aware of the situation. Which did you do? I'm sorry. Did you say you did that, or?
Yes, most definitely.
Okay.
And it was a tagging issue that sent the chair to on the wrong plane and onto the wrong city, unfortunately. So best we can do is, hey, be more attentive on this.
Right.
And this is still going to change because going to airline travel, companies like Performax, or there's another company in, I think, the UK, which has designed a wheelchair that can fold so small that you can actually store it in the overhead cabins. So you can bring the chair in with you inside the plane. So changes happening, but at its own pace.
Yeah.
Right.
And I have a friend of mine. He's in the process. He has a company, and he is in the process of building a chair that is more lightweight than Performax, and then more compactable. So you will be able to fold it to the size of, I believe, a wheel, he said.
Nice. I'll contact you later. Let me find out what this company is. I love keeping I love keeping tabs on all these durable medical equipment companies, what products they are coming out with. So I'll definitely catch up with you on that.
Yeah.
But Sam, besides travel, that question, that's what came to me. That no, what needs to change right now? Travel. Yeah, I don't know what else. Maybe complex rehabilitation technology, where insurance and Medicare puts very tight restrictions on what kind of adaptive equipment we can get to function daily. They put price caps on stuff that can be purchased for us, and oftentimes those price caps are not enough. And because anything that's sold for people with disabilities gets hiked up. The market is so small that in order to turn a profit, the company has to increase the sale price per item, and that makes things expensive for us, for the insurance companies. So better availability for adaptive technologies. Yeah.
Okay.
That honestly has to go with the insurance. We just need better communication with our insurance, and that is the number one goal, or the number one problem that people with disability face in America, is not being able to get proper therapy or proper equipment for disabilities. That's a now that we need to fix as soon as possible.
Yes. Have you all heard about the role on Capitol Hill?
No.
This is a group of people with disabilities ranging from blindness, auditory disabilities, physical disabilities, and basically they get together constituents and they go and speak to the people on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. This was, I think, the second or third year that it was a very successful event. It goes on for a week, and they get into small groups and they go and meet senators and they go and meet congressmen, and they tell them, hey, this is what you can do to make our lives better. So change is coming, but we just can't lose our minds. We got to keep cool and keep moving forward, I guess.
Wow, I didn't hear about that one. That's awesome.
Definitely worth looking at. I forget, I don't know if it's the Users First Alliance that's running it, or if it's some spinal cord injury non-profit group, but it's called The Role on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, it happened the third week in June of
There you
this
go.
past year, and it was a very successful event.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Okay, I'll have to check it out sometime.
So kind of going off of that, what do you think able-bodied people really don't know about disabled people? What are some things they often don't even think about?
I think Muhammad kind of touched up on it earlier when he said that people don't know that some people in wheelchairs have different functions than other people in chairs, and some people just group us all as one and think, okay, you're in a wheelchair, you can do everything, you just can't walk. And it's like, no, that would be a paraplegic. It's quadriplegics are very different. And some people, I think that's a big misconception that able-bodied people might have for people in wheelchairs, and they're quite surprised when I explain it to them, because they're like, oh, okay, there is a difference. I do see your hands are a little bit different, or they're weaker, and so that's a
And they also don't see the underlying issues that quadriplegic have or paraplegic have, such as regulating your own blood pressure or regulating your own body temperature.
oh yeah,
So they don't see the underlying issues that people have.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Or even if
Yeah.
they do, once you explain it to them, sometimes they still don't think you can. Some people in wheelchairs, okay, I won't say all, but some people in wheelchairs are able to be independent, and live on their own. And some people just can't wrap their minds around that and think that, we could ever do that,
Yeah.
or take care of ourselves at all. They think that, we have food on our shirts all day and we don't take baths. But that's definitely not the case. I won't say for everybody because, there are some people in chairs who do need, 24-hour care, you know. But there are, very a huge majority of people in wheelchairs who can, be independent and live independent lives, still go out and have fun, have a social life, and that's a big misconception too, I think.
And I think too, a lot of people don't realize how much we want to be independent. I mean,
Yes.
people helping is nice. Yeah, it's a nice thing to do, and yeah, we appreciate it. But after a while, if it gets to be helping with every little thing, it feels like you're a child, and that's not okay. It's basically making you feel like, oh, I'm not capable enough to do this, so somebody else is going to do it for me. And I don't get that, and I think people get offended sometimes when we get offended because we're like, no, I can do this myself, and they're like, oh, well, I was just trying to help, and it's like, well, but you don't get it. Like, I want to do this myself. Like, this is something that I really do want to do.
Yes.
Absolutely. But and yeah, don't treat us like kids. You're right. Yeah. Unless we are kids with disabilities, then you gotta treat us like kids and paint on our faces.
Right.
But yeah. Alhamdulillah. And the other thing is, please don't get upset if your children ask us a very, very, very personal question. They're kids. They're gonna do that. I've had parents just slap their kid or something like that because they asked me, or they pointed out the fact that I had no legs. I'm like, it's okay. That's the kind of honesty a child has, and it's okay. So people sometimes freak out. They're like, oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, it's okay. We understand that.
Right.
Yeah, that with my feet. Like she doesn't understand the whole situation, but she'll be like, you walk funny. And my family will be like, Emma, come on. And I'm like, well, I do. And two, I mean, she's 3.5. I mean, she's going to say things.
Right.
I mean, she was at McDonald's one time with her parents, and this very obese man came in, and she said very loudly, Mommy, he's way too big. And they were like,
So embarrassing.
it happens to kids, like, it's normal.
Right. I think
Yeah.
one thing that some able-bodied people do that really irks me is when I'm out, like at Walmart or Target, for instance, and we're on the same aisle, and it's like they suddenly have to move, like aisles, like they see me and they like go the opposite way. It's like, oh God, I'll move. Like, you don't have to leave. Like, we can be on the same aisle together. You're not in my way.
Yeah.
They automatically think, like I'm in the way or something, or they need to give me space. And I'm just like, it's okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's something interesting too.
And I've experienced the opposite too. Like, I'll be trying to get something like orange juice, and somebody will be standing in front of it looking, and I'm trying to look, and they'll just stand in front of me, and I'm like, excuse me.
Uh-huh.
And then they won't move, and I'm like, come on, really?
Yeah.
Or even employees in the stores, like, I can walk now, and so I'll go in the store, but if I walk around the entire store, I'll be hurt. So I get in one of those little carts, and I swear almost every time an employee gives me a dirty look. I've even had one come up to me and say, those are for people that need them. And I was like, I know. I am in one.
Yeah.
People don't realize.
I know.
Yeah.
But I mean, the way that some able-bodied people can. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say sometimes it can be a big turnoff, and I've left stores before because of the way that they're treating me or the way that they're looking at me, or if they don't even see me at all. I won't put my money into that business. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because of the way that some able-bodied people can be. Like I don't need to spend my money here. You're not going to treat me the same way you're treating, this customer who happens to be able to walk, our money is the same, and so, that's been a huge deterrent, but.
But I was saying that I work in kind of in sales, and when I see a younger person using one of those power chairs that we offer for customers, I will approach them myself and I'll ask them, so what's going on? How come do you need this chair? And I let them know that no, I'm not being nosy. I kind of tie it into some other aspect of our disability. I'm like, hey, if you have problems with mobility, we have adaptive sports in our town. We play wheelchair tennis so many times a week. We play quad rugby or whatever. So if you want to, if maybe you can come out and meet some of the other people out there also. But I not in the intention is not to offend somebody who doesn't look like they need to be using the chair. I'm like, hey, but I'm not even asking that. I'm not even suggesting that you should not be using this chair. I'm like, no. If you want to get into more stuff, if you want to get more active, come on, come to the rolling side or whatever. No, I don't say that. That's lame. Yeah.
So how do y'all feel about the term disabled?
Ooh.
First
world problem.
It bothers me sometimes, depending on the context that it's being used in. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I mean, if my friends are describing me, or if I'm being described to, by my friends to somebody, they're like, oh, the disabled girl, it hurts my feelings, yeah. Or like crippled, I feel like that's worse.
Yeah. My friends used to call me cripple.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, and it was a joke. Like I knew it was a joke, but at the same time, it wasn't a very tactful joke. So.
Yeah, and those kind of those words stick with you. And so if it's like I don't know, a teacher writing something down, I don't know. I hate that I'm referred to as that, because there's so much more to me than
Yeah, there's so many other things people could use to describe you, but they choose that.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that is just a way to describe. I mean, I go through ups and downs. Yeah, sometimes it does hurt, but I mean, at the end of the day, sometimes I'm like, you know what? I am disabled. That it's just what it is.
Yeah.
It also goes back to I'm a part of a fraternity on campus, and our philanthropy is Push America, and what it is raising money and awareness for people with disabilities. And one of the main objectives of Push America is trying to end the R word or retarded. And there is a big push across the country that is trying to basically erase that word from the dictionary. And I feel that the term disabled need to follow suit in that same route. I feel that we need to delete that word from our vocabulary. And I don't know, what do you think about that?
I'm going to sound like a pessimist if I say anything, so I'm not going to say it. I'll let somebody else take it.
I know. I'm waiting. So everyone speak.
It's offensive, I think, if we give it power. If we own these words, if we use them in our own comfort level, then people around us will understand in what context it can be used and what context it cannot be used. So yeah, but it's just a word. To think that a word can be used in the dictionary, is no. And it's like bullying. It's not. The more you fight the bully, the more you become susceptible to their influence on you. No, it's.
And I get what you're trying to say. I mean, I heard this one saying, like, you cut the head off the snake and the snake is still going to grow. You know what I mean? So, I mean, the source really starts with us, honestly. And, it's a personal thing. I mean, somebody can say, anything about you, and it really comes down to you letting it affect you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And somebody can say, you're disabled, okay, whatever. And then your job is to show them, I'm smart, I'm athletic, I am this, that, and then they'll use more adjectives, you know what I mean? I'm all for showing people rather than telling them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I think it's a lot more powerful, and especially doing it for you, not doing it to prove that to those people.
Right.
It's so exhausting trying to prove things to people that are really not even necessary. You just need to focus on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But although I will say that this, I don't know how children get upset being called a certain thing. We are all past our teens. I'm way past my teens, but so we are more comfortable in our skins. But this is something that maybe a child can give you a better answer. That what is it about that word that's upsetting you? And maybe that honesty, again, going back to what children have, maybe that'll come out, a better response to the question can come out from there.
I don't think that they really know the true effect of the word until they are maybe 16, 17, 18 years old. Like, I think their mind is still at the innocent level that they don't really care what it is or whatnot,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, but obviously they can feel it. And I'm going to refer to this show. I'm sure you guys don't watch it, but it's called Teen Mom. And on the show, there's a girl. She's like,
I love Teen Mom.
It comes on Wednesday night, you guys. But anyway, there's a girl on there. She's like 2 years old, and she has a twin sister. And the twin is able-bodied. But the other girl, the other twin, she's in a wheelchair. She has muscular dystrophy. And she's in a wheelchair, and she knows that she's different. She feels it. Her sister can play and run, and she really can't. And so I think children are aware of their differences. But, it's really up to the parents and the people around them to let them know, and to encourage them and tell them, yeah, you're different, but you can still do X, Y, and Z. You can still do these things just differently, you know.
Right, right. Definitely. And I think too, it's a lot different for children than it is for us because, I mean, well, for some of us at least, because I didn't really have to deal with this until I was in high school. So I still got to experience a normal childhood. And, you know, I think going through these things when you're that young can definitely change your outlook in terms of other people and yourself and how you view yourself. And
Like they don't have that experience, able-bodied, and then going to, you know, disabled. Sorry, Sergio, but yeah. Sorry, lack of a better term, but yeah.
So I have a question for you guys. Okay, I was born with a disability, so I never got to experience the able-bodied side, as some of you have. Now, do you regret having a disability later on in your lives rather than being born with it? Or do you feel vice versa and it really don't affect what you feel?
well, you know, I think perspective that's really worlds apart. I mean, you know, I can't really speak on, you know, having a disability my whole life because I haven't. I mean, there's probably things I don't understand about it because I haven't gone through them. But I can say that having that comparison between when I did not have this disease and now that I do, sometimes I do get stuck in that rut where I'm like, well, if I was just how I was, then this would be better, or this would work, or, you know, I'd be happier. And then, you know, I have to take some time and like really think about what I'm saying and kind of calm myself down and then be like, well, this is the reality, you know, and this is what I have to do. And my life is still pretty great. So I think sometimes that comparison can get in the way, whereas, I mean, I don't know from experience, but being born with it might make that a little easier. So.
Yeah, in my experience, I got hurt when I was 18, and I'm 23 now, so it's been about 5 years in my chair, and I mean, I have to say, I enjoy every part of being able-bodied, and I appreciate it even more now that I am in my situation. You know, I have, you know, a lot of moments where I look back and I'm like, man, you know, if I had just really, if I had known I was going to be, you know what I mean, where I am now, I would have stayed at that party longer. You know, I would have hug that person tighter. You know what I mean? Just, you know. And so, no, I mean, the only thing that probably I deal with in my chair is not probably wanting to be injured or being born with my injury. Is probably just having more experience. Because I see people in chairs that have been injured their whole life, and they're able to, like, drive, and they're able to, like, they have all these cool wheelchair skills. I'm like, man.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, gosh, they're cool, you know. And so that's how. That's the only thing. I'm just like, and they have all these cool tactics and like good advice they've learned over the years. And I'm like, gosh, they've got it down. And that's the part I probably, you know, I guess envy, I guess the most from people, you know, in my situation, because you know they have the experience. They've gone through it a lot longer and they have more knowledge than I do. But as far as being born with it, I appreciate, you know, the life that I had before and. You know, that the time being able-bodied, I do. Don't have any regrets.
Yeah, no regrets. I mean, I'm the same way. It doesn't. It's something that's, I'm gonna say, not in our control. The one thing that has kept me comfortable with my disability is faith. And what my faith teaches me is that what was not meant to befall you is not going to is not going to affect you, and what was to affect you in a good or bad way, there's no way it can be put away. Well, so speculation about whether or not I would rather have been later or earlier in life or never ever would have happened. No, it is what it is, like Samantha said, and it's the experience will come in time, I think also. But I I remember I was in my hospital bed. I was in a coma for 6 weeks, and I woke up from my coma, and for 3 days, I mean, I was completely bedridden. I couldn't even move a finger on my body. And on the third night, the nurse comes to me and she says, "So you were in a very severe accident, and the doctors had to cut your legs off." And I was emotionally overwhelmed at that moment, but of course, this happened when I was 25, so I was still conscious enough. The first words that rolled off my tongue were, "Thank God that I am still here." Doesn't matter what has happened in the past, it's what we move on further from here. So that faith has helped me, not look back. In 8 years, I have never felt the need to ask once, why me, or how did this happen, or whatever it was. No, it is what it is now, and where are we going to go from here? That's all I'm worried about. Hypotheticals, what if I can't go into that at all. And it's been a blessing in itself, because there are things. I play professional wheelchair tennis now, and I'm ranked about 7th or 8th in the country in the United States. I'm ranked about 63rd, 64th in the world now. And had I not been in a wheelchair, I don't think I would have taken sports as seriously ever. It was something I did in school as a child, and that was the end of the story. But now getting back into this, it has opened the opportunities, and I feel confident that if I continue giving it any effort, then in time my rank will increase, and I will be able to do a lot more. So, okay, let me say this. I'd be on campus, and every campus gets evangelical students coming to campus, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to go and mingle with the crowd and ask them questions and do all kinds of stuff." And inevitably, there'll be people coming up to me in my chair. They'll put their hands on my shoulder, and they're like, "Okay, let's pray together that God gives you back your legs." And I just smile and I tell them, no, that's not the prayer that I want. The prayer that I want is, since God has seen me fit to be in this condition, I pray for the strength to continue here onwards. Right? If this is the situation we have to be in, we consider God to be all-knowing. So if in His infinite wisdom, this is just my view, if in His infinite wisdom He has put me through this test, then He knows that I can pass it. So why not make Him proud?
That is very interesting, because I had a friend of mine. He went to UH as well. He was a quadriplegic due to a diving accident, and he asked me that question, and at the time I couldn't answer that question, but he gave me his answer, and his answer was that he envied how I was born with a disability, and that I did not know the able-bodied aspect of life or whatnot. And I guess for me it was vice versa. It was, I envied him because I didn't know the able-bodied aspect of life, and it just really intrigued me in knowing what other people thought about that. So, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think that we're all in this situation for a reason. I don't think there's any coincidences or mistakes, and so definitely I think that there's lessons that I probably learned in the wheelchair that I probably would not have gotten had it not been for my chair, you know, because I was on the go all the time, and I, you know, didn't take life seriously, and I took a lot for granted, you know what I mean? And so now I am kind of more forced to, you know, take a moment and, you know, appreciate things a lot more, I'll say, a lot more than I would have. And so, yeah, I'm sure there's probably something for all of us we still have to do. You know, there's a reason why we're still here, you know.
Yeah.
And so there's more for us to do, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Did y'all have any other points y'all wanted to discuss, bring up, or didn't get to?
I'm trying to look at your questions you sent. You had some. Did you go over everything? I know we didn't discuss the dating thing.
I mean, does it affect your dating life? I mean,
Samantha?
huh? Did I cut out?
Oh, no. I was asking you.
Oh, I mean, in the past it has. Granted, I had a really awful ex-boyfriend, so that's like 100% of it. But I mean, there's some things that people don't understand, and you know, you get in a relationship with somebody, especially with somebody with chronic pain, and there's certain things you miss out on. Like, there was one night we were going to a New Year's Eve party, and I had a pain flare, and so there was no way I was driving, there was no way I was going out. And he got so upset with me, and I'm like, well, it's not like I did this on purpose. I can't control it, you know, like it's not my fault. But he got so angry, and you know, so that affected it. You know, if I hadn't have had chronic pain, we wouldn't have missed the party. You know, we wouldn't have gotten in that fight. But at the same time, it's his attitude. But I feel like people are more prone to frustration because they don't.
What is that?
But I mean, my current boyfriend, he's really great, and I was really worried about it when we first got together because I had a lot of stress, and with more stress comes more pain. And I had a pain flare pretty early on into our relationship, and he just rolled with it like it was no big deal. And I kept apologizing, and I was like, I know this is disrupting your day and stuff. Like, this is, you know, I'm sorry. And he was the perfect example of what I'd want a relationship to be like. So that was a nice change from jerk face in the past. So.
Did we lose Sergio?
No, he's here.
No.
I see him.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Is there a problem?
No problem, man. We see your handsome mug. We good.
So have y'all had any issues with that? Like, has it positively or negatively affected any of that?
I mentioned that I've been injured for 8 years now, and for 6.5, almost 7 of these 8 years, I used a power chair. So I was a lot weaker. I wasn't able to move around. I had a lot of issues medically also. So I wasn't ready to date. And by date, but now I feel a lot more confident. I feel stronger. I have grown inside my shorter body right now. And so it did slow me down. But besides that, it wasn't a confidence issue. It was the fact that I knew I was not strong enough to, of course, financially, physically, or emotionally support somebody else with me. So it was that self-awareness. So in that sense, the disability has affected my social life. But it wasn't self-consciousness in the sense that, oh, I'm not that I'm not good enough for somebody. No, I knew what my shortcomings were, and I have worked on those over the past couple of years, and I'm confident to go back out there.
Nice. I think for me, my wheelchair kind of did affect me a little bit as far as dating went. I didn't date as much as I did before I got hurt, and I did notice, I wasn't getting the same attention that I was before, or as much, and yeah, it affected me. I was definitely insecure, and I went through a whole lot of, emotional issues, and as far as like, not being good enough or pretty enough like all the other girls, you know what I mean? I went through all of that, and for a while, I just didn't even want to like talk to guys. I was just like, just doing school. I was like, I didn't want anybody anyway, and I was mean. And then, I don't know, I just had an epiphany one day, and I wanted things to change. I saw all my friends, I was like, I'll just hang out with my friends. And then slowly they got boyfriends, and they were like too busy to hang out. And I'm like, okay, I can't be by myself all the time, like I need to be nicer. I need to be, more confident, and, somebody else there will like me. And so, slowly over the years, I've been more open talking to people, and right now I am dating somebody, and he's really, really nice. I've dated some horrible guys before, jerk faces like Samantha, who really don't have good intentions at all. They have weird fetishes. So I won't even get into that. But I meet a ton of crazies, but the guy now is really supportive, and just sees me as Kim, not as Kim in the wheelchair. He's open to wheelchair rugby I play. I mean, and he was cool with this interview. He's like, tell me the link so I can look at it. As soon as it's posted, I want to see what you say. And so, yeah, he's a really good shoulder to lean on. So it's definitely ups and downs, but, it's all of, how you, handle things and, your own self-esteem.
Right.
Sergio, how about you? I mean, growing up with the disability, what are the things that you come into?
Yeah.
By the way, I'm happy that both y'all are dating. That's awesome.
It really doesn't affect that much, because with me, it's just the matter of finding those who accept my disability or whatnot. And yeah, I have found a couple that accept, and those were great. And I'm kind of nitpicky when it comes to it or whatnot. So I really don't have that much to say on this question.
On dating, yeah. I mean, I think it's important to, I guess, have your significant other kind of in the know so they know what to expect. Because I feel like if my boyfriend had no idea what my condition was and no idea how I react during flares or anything like that, he would have been completely blindsided and maybe a little overwhelmed. So, I mean, we were friends for a little over a year before we started dating, so I think that was really important to get that across, so he wasn't just like, oh, this is a thing that's happening.
Yeah. I went through all of that. I had friends who were like, why don't you get on dating websites and try it? And, I went through it, and I did join a dating website, and it was cool or whatever, but it's just headshots, and I would be too scared to put the wheelchair in, my picture, and, I would get too nervous, like, what would they say? Maybe they wouldn't like me, but then it's like, if you lie to them and they see you in person, then that's even worse.
And even that, like, if they are going to reject you because of a wheelchair, if they, like, read your whole profile and they're like, oh, this girl sounds so great, but she has a wheelchair. That's the kind of person you
That's
don't want to
not, exactly. And I also feel like the chair has helped me like see people for who they really are. You know what I mean? Even with friends too. You know, like I've had a ton of friends, you know, not a ton, but you know, several friends who I don't hang out with like I used to, you know, because the chair, I haven't changed, but you know, they've changed. You know what I mean? As far as personality, okay, physically I have changed, but you know, in personality, I'm still the same person. I'm just sitting down. But you know, some people aren't able to handle it, and so the chair definitely helps with you know finding real people, honest. Um, yeah, but it's like some people just like you meet people, and it's like okay, let's get them past the wheelchair first, and it's like a whole list of other things they got to get through, you know, and that definitely holds you back. It's like okay, yes, they got the wheelchair, and it's like okay, can they accept the hands? Okay, they got the hands. Like okay, can you accept this? And you know, it's just so many other things. And sometimes you don't even want to go through it, you know. It's just like maybe being alone isn't so bad, you know. And so I definitely have gone through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But you're absolutely right. You know how much do you disclose, and at what stages in the relationship do you put that out there? That no, hey, and this and this. So that was very nicely put, Kim. Thank you for that.
For real. 'Cause I remember like meeting new people and wanting to like hide my hands and like you know just eat finger foods, not really wanting to like deal with forks or you know knives. I'm like okay, I don't want them to see I struggle. You know what I mean? And then when they finally do notice, it's like I saw them staring. Crap, I'm caught. You know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, to the counter, one of my friends had told me that no, like if you go for a job interview, you know, don't uh, don't put out your negatives first, right? That's not for you. That's not for you to be exposing yourself. Let them figure out what they're having issues with. Chances are they're not going to have issues with anything about you, whether you have 16 kids and have been divorced 14 times or whatever. But let the opposite party, not to say don't be secretive, but at the same time let them make their decision. You know, don't think that what you are going through is going to be considered a negative. For all you know, that if somebody will be like, hey, if they can go through all the stuff they are going through right now, then they must be a really, 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 really strong person, and that's the person I want to be with, you know. So this, when I'm talking to people comically, I put out everything slowly, you know, with a joke here, with a joke there, I put everything out there. And it works both ways. Some people shy away, and some people get disgusted, and other people are like, no, this is cool, you know. Let's worry about what you have and not what you don't have, which is what we got to keep reminding ourselves anyways, right? So
focus on your strengths, yeah, definitely, yeah. As far as the joking goes, have you guys ever like made a joke about yourself and then other people get offended? Has it ever happened? I often make jokes like if people, it's really awkward sometimes. People are like, "Do you want to walk over there together? I mean, roll over there together." And I'm like, "I can't walk," and they're just like, "Oh my god."
I'm trying to make people go speechless, honestly. I think it's the amount of control. Because you're just like, if you laugh, will I be mad? We don't know.
I know. And it's like some people are like, I don't know if I should laugh or not. And it's like, come on, if I'm laughing, it's okay. You can laugh.
Yeah, definitely. But I think it's good sometimes to make fun of yourself because I think it's healthy, you know.
Yeah. Agree.
It clears the atmosphere.
One of the first treatment plans my therapist had put me through was, they said, no, sit in front of a mirror, look at your stumps, rub your hands over your stumps, let your brain understand what your new physical body is like now. You know, so that will create acceptance in yourself, and that will help you be more open to others also. So it's the same way. Humor is the same way. You know, if you can stab yourself a couple times here and there, then you know what you're really made of, and that you learn not to let bother you then. Yeah.
Right, right.
Definitely.
Well, it's been about 2 hours, so I think it's about time to wrap things up. But thank y'all so much for participating. Y'all have been fantastic. I will send you the link if you somehow can't get to it. And again, just thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for providing this platform. It's awesome. Conversation
Yeah.
we get to have. So.
Definitely.
Hopefully.